is 911. We just received a call from this number. Is everything okay?
No, me and my girlfriend were drinking, we're doing drugs. Right now, she's unresponsive. I need help. You Falls in, room 29.
Falls Township, Pennsylvania. It's late on the night of the 1st of July, 2021.
Come on, please!
Can you get next to her?
I'm right here next to her right now. Come on, please, come here.
Okay.
Come.
Can you see if she's breathing?
It's not breathing. Come on. Come.
Sure.
That night, the dispatcher comes out for the unresponsive female, and we are almost a stone's throw away from the motel. I was at headquarters with Alex Sansone.
The dispatcher tells us that the caller is screaming into the phone, saying to save her.
Oh my goodness.
Can you get by her side?
Yes, I'm by her side. Please,
okay.
come.
Count out loud so I can hear you doing expressions. 1, 2,
1,
3,
2,
1,
3,
2,
4.
4.
All the officers that are not on calls at that point, when we get anything like that, we're all going.
1, 2, come on now, y'all.
Keep going.
Come on, y'all.
1, 2, 3.
Come on, y'all. Come on.
Going.
Officer Parness is first up the stairs.
We entered the room, and we found a female on the floor, unresponsive.
She's almost completely naked except for her bra that's pushed up. And the officers were working on getting rescue breaths into her. As the resuscitation is going on, there's a male in the room that's screaming and kind of running around back and forth.
Keep going. Sir. Please, I'm here. We're here.
All righty.
We couldn't find a pulse rate at that time on the female. This male continued very frantic, very nervous and manic and animated, jumping on the bed.
He definitely was not helping us by any means.
You all right? You got a pulse? You all right?
Sure.
You relax? You okay?
Hear me.
Back up. You okay?
He was told several times to leave the room, and he wouldn't. So at this point, I call for additional police officers to come and help us control him and control this scene.
When I arrived on scene, a male was standing there, and I was trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get him to talk to me, and I was trying to get him away from the room. He was saying things along the lines of, like, things got out of control tonight, you gotta save her. Very agitated, very high-strung. He was off the walls, I guess you could say, and he wasn't listening to anything that any of us were telling him.
Everyone's got a different reaction, but this reaction just hit me a wrong way. Kind of give me that, what we call in police work, the spidey senses. You know, the hair on the back of your neck goes up saying, I think there's something wrong here.
At that point, we're still trying to just save her, though. We're going first aid right away, and then we'll figure out the rest afterwards.
Victim is 39-year-old Jamie Bagley, a Falls Township mother.
She lived in our township. She'd been here the whole time that I've worked here. I've had multiple interactions with her in the past. So when we got on scene, we immediately knew who she was.
She was a great person, you know, great mother. She was a single mother. So, you know, raised me and my 4 other brothers, and stayed in a little trailer, all of us.
My sister was like my main babysitter growing up. I was always with her. She never minded me tagging along. All of her friends loved me being around. She was like the silly, goofy kind of person, so everybody loved her. She was very fun to get along with. She did have a baby young. She had my oldest nephew, Tommy, when she was 18, but she did awesome for herself. She got her own place at 18. She graduated just fine from high school, and then a couple days later, she had her son.
She was just like an awesome person. She always helped somebody else before she could help herself. That was like her main thing in life. Like if she could help somebody else, she always would do it. She would take the shirt off her back and give it to somebody else. She would help out all my friends that had like, that were probably like a little bit less fortunate. She would help everybody.
Like my actual blood mom, she left when I was like 4, and it was just my dad, and then my dad was struggling, then it was just me.
She just loved helping people any way she could, and she seen Austin and wanted to help, and she couldn't help herself. And we thought it would be best if he stayed with us and stayed in our school district, and we would help him, you know, just grow to be a better person.
She worked all the time, bartender, waitress, really any type of job you can think of, she would do it if it paid enough money. You know, she tried to do her best to be a good mom.
My mom was the queen of saving a dollar, so she found every single way to get the cheapest vacation, or, you know, how to save for the next vacation or for school clothes or something like that. And she did good. You know, money wasn't the greatest, but she enjoyed what she did, and she did work a lot. But at the end of the day, we went on vacations and we were fed, so it worked.
A truly good-hearted person who was just trying to provide for her family and her children.
But how did someone like Jamie end up in this condition at a place like the New Falls Motel?
I've been there plenty of times before that, so I knew what we were getting ourselves into when we went there. When you get a call to that motel, something's not right.
The New Falls Motel has been the scene of many police activities, including a 2015 drug raid where police ended up arresting a man who had 18 bags of heroin.
Drugs are everywhere, so they're a main problem in Falls Township, and I'd say a good percentage, high majority of the arrests are involving drugs in one way, shape, or form. People that have drugs on them, people dealing drugs, people stealing to get money for drugs. So they're usually involved in most of the crimes that are committed.
While the CPR on the victim continues, the officers start to look at the scene in a bit more detail.
This is a very small room. It's comprised of a bed, a small sitting area, and then a bathroom. And the room's in clutter from personal items that are scattered around the room.
There were items thrown all over the place. The bed was a big mess. There was a pool of blood on the bed. There was a table behind where the female was laying. There was food and stuff all over the place. It definitely was not a well-kept motel room.
As I start looking around the room a little more, I see a pillow with what looks like dried blood on it. And it's not uncommon on medical calls like this, but it kind of piqued me a little bit more that this could be something more than what I expected.
There was things during that time that I noticed that weren't typical of a cardiac arrest or a specific medical emergency type call. There was blood coming from her mouth, from her ears. There was discharge coming from her nose or blood from her nose. There was issues with her pupils or her eyes that didn't seem consistent to the many medical emergencies or cardiac arrests that I've dealt with before.
But that wasn't all. The condition of the male in the room was also suspicious.
He had scratch marks on his chest.
He had cuts on his neck. He looked like he had been in a fight, for sure.
And she seems to have skin underneath her fingernails. This changes from just a medical call to something more nefarious.
It's just before midnight on the 1st of July, 2021. Police in Falls Township are on the scene of the reported cardiac arrest of mother of 5, Jamie Begley, in the New Falls Motel. A man who they've discovered on the scene with the victim is becoming more and more agitated.
He's asking us if she's all right, he's yelling her name, and he's going back and forth to the point where, as I'm managing this cardiac event and telling the officers what I want them to do, he starts grabbing items throughout the room and eventually is grabbing a female's purse.
So at this point, I was able to get the male downstairs. We were on a second floor balcony in the motel. I was able to get him downstairs into the parking lot. And he kept trying to keep me from getting the purse. So eventually I was able to rip the purse from him, at which point he then ran over and he hopped in a car. I was trying to get him out of the car, but I could not get him out of the car. He slams the door and he throws it in drive and he takes off and I have to hop out of the way so that I don't get hit by the car. And he peeled out of there. I mean, you heard the tires squealing as he went around the corner.
This gets radioed to all the other officers, and another police officer, Brian Dietrich, is coming down the road and actually sees the vehicle.
The scene was getting chaotic. But I said, I'm coming up right now. And I said, I see him. He was flying through the parking lot.
He leaves the parking lot of the New Falls Motel and he almost hits the ambulance head on as he comes around the corner to go to the front of the motel.
I turned my lights and sirens on and tried to stop him.
It was a rainy night. I remember it being rainy and the roads were slick, and when he left the motel, he drove down Lincoln Highway at a high rate of speed with no lights on.
He stepped on it and tried to go. Oh, he knows I'm behind him. He's fishtailing all over the road. So as I'm behind him and I'm pursuing him, I asked my sergeant, do you want me to stop him or keep going?
And I told him to terminate the pursuit. Because at the time, I have to weigh the safety of everyone. It's nighttime, it's the rain, and I think that this is just an upset family member on a medical call.
There's definitely hazardous conditions out there. So at that point, I terminated the pursuit.
Enough had transpired at the scene from what the initial responding officers saw that a detective was required to come out for this. Phone definitely rang, woke me up out of bed in the middle of the night, and it was time to go. Once I was given that information, it was the New Falls Motel, I knew this was not going to be good. When I arrived on scene, a lot of patrol cars, officers around, and it was still, even at this time, I think it was just a big question mark for everybody. It was just the unknown.
At the motel, we're still piecing things together. I'm assisting the medical team, the EMS, the paramedics with bringing this female back to life. That's our goal.
Due to just the extent of her injuries and the shape that she was found in, that was kind of what they call a scoop and go. And they kind of got her in the squad and they took her as quickly as possible to the local hospital.
At home, oblivious to what had happened, Jamie's kids were wondering where she was.
There was no food in the house, and I was calling my mom. Oh, God. I was calling my mom, and I was very angry. I was like, where are you? Like, we need food. And there's like voice messages on her phone of me yelling at her. And then my family comes in at like 8 in the morning, telling me she's in the hospital and she's in very bad condition.
I got a very early call from my brother saying that Jamie's in the hospital. You have to get up here, basically. And when my brother said that, my body just gave out. I fell to the floor and I started screaming. I was screaming at the top of my lungs that this can't be happening. And I get there and I see her. She's on a tube. She has scratches and stuff on her face. She's got bruises. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know how she ended up here.
One turbulent aspect to Jamie's life was her domestic situation with the man who ended up being there when police arrived and found her in the hotel that night.
The man is well known to Falls Township Police. His name is Evan Smith.
When I heard the name Evan Smith, I immediately knew who we were dealing with. He is a frequent flyer, as we say, of somebody we contact within our police department, somebody we have dealt with on numerous occasions.
If you go into our record system, put in either their names, you have a list this long of contacts we've had with the two of them.
A lot are essentially revolving around violence and domestic issues between him and Jamie. I made a call very soon that I'm going to need more help. This is not something I can handle on my own. So contacts were made. I had other additional detectives respond, up to including even county detectives and their involvement.
I was at home. I got a call from Detective Dennis O'Connell from Falls. He informed me that there was a significant assault that occurred in the motel, and the on-call Bucks County detectives were called in as well.
So that night, Falls Township Police Department needed our assistance with an investigation. I notified Detective Phil Coolin, let him know that they had a female who was unconscious.
We both found it would be beneficial for us to go to Jefferson Bucks Hospital ICU and meet with the attending staff and physician there to get an update. Ms. Begley was pretty much lying unconscious and being kept alive by machines.
Based on her condition and knowing that he was the only person in the hotel room with her that night, we knew something was seriously wrong.
Now the race is on to track down Evan Smith.
Evan was an out-of-control freight train that was just looking for something to crash into.
In Bucks County, police are investigating a savage assault on a Falls Township mother, Jamie Begley. They've identified the man they believe is responsible as her long-term partner, Evan Smith. It's not the sort of crime prevalent in this corner of Pennsylvania.
Violent crime is rare for the size of the county's population, almost 700,000. The violent crime rate's low. The homicide rate usually doesn't even crack 20 each year.
During the day, you're going to have a lot more of the calls related to like services at stores and things of that nature. At night, a lot of the stores close by 10 o'clock. So then we end up dealing with more domestics.
This line of work, you have generally your weekends or your busier times, both night and day, but it can be, you know, a cold night in December on a Tuesday night can be just as busy as a Friday night in July.
What Evan Smith is believed to have done is a crime at the extreme end of what Falls Township police are used to seeing.
We wanted to prioritize the safety of different people. So the first one we prioritized was, hey, where would Evan go? And we had Matt Shannon go to the family home down on Hunter Drive.
As I pull right into the general area of Hunter Drive where the trailer was, I see a black Nissan sitting there.
And I thought to myself, I hope he's not inside that house with those kids.
Eventually, after a few minutes, I see the car leave and I see that it is Evan in the same vehicle that he left the New Falls Motel.
So now Evan's driving through this residential neighborhood. I've Officer Shannon following directly behind him to keep eyes on him. And I'm getting more and more marked units to trail behind them, but further back so he doesn't see him.
We were all trying to put ourselves in a position that we were safe and it wasn't going to make anything worse. We didn't want him fleeing and then getting in a high-speed pursuit because we had no idea his mental status.
I follow Evan out of the trailer park and eventually we make our way up onto Tyburn Road.
So we were just on one of the main highways in our township, Route 1. We're getting onto another highway, Route 13 South. And right around this curve, you'll start to see the sign for Tyburn Road.
Sergeant Finelli said, if we're going to stop this guy, stop him in an area where there's no houses in case he runs or something even worse happens. At Tyburn Road and Route 13, it's a very open area. There's 2 lanes of travel in each way, and there's no houses in that general area. I put my lights on, he pulls over, and he gets out of the car with his hands up, and he starts walking back towards us.
There was a lot of unknowns at this point. What we did know that he was under the influence of some type of drug and or alcohol, and him operating a vehicle was enough for us to detain him and take him into custody under that pretense.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against the court of law. You have the right to talk with me
at all. I didn't do anything at all.
You could not afford a lawyer.
I didn't do anything. I didn't read my rights. I didn't read my rights.
You can
Why
decide
you read my
whether
rights?
anytime to exercise these rights.
Why you read my rights? There's no point. I didn't do anything. Well, is she okay?
I told you that. I don't know. Chill out.
What do you mean you don't know? How do you not know? What do you mean? Yo, listen to me. I need to know if my girl's okay. I need to know she's okay.
At the police station, Dennis O'Connell now came face to face with Evan Smith.
Just looking at his shoulders, his chest, his face, he looked like he had kind of gone through a meat shredder. It was astonishing how cut up he was.
Evan, you're scratched up pretty good there. She wasn't trying to defend herself or get you off of her?
These aren't all from... These are like...
I know.
These aren't all from...
I looked. I had a good look. It's pretty obvious what's old, what's new. Okay?
Whatever.
As Evan was being questioned, the news of his arrest had caught the attention of a particular staff member on duty that evening.
I went up to detectives because I realized that it was Detective O'Connell's case. And I said, "Did you arrest Evan Smith?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "I just can't believe this." Him and I, we were, if you want to call it boyfriend, girlfriend, when we were younger, 14, 15. And he told me a little bit about what happened. And it right away struck a chord with me because I remember something very similar happening with us. So one afternoon, Evan and I started fighting outside about cigarettes, and he became enraged and came after me. He came after me and basically put his head down and did a full-on headbutt into my stomach, to the point where I wet myself and was on the floor in the bathroom. At that point, thankfully, there were other people in the house. My sister jumped on his back and he let go of me and kind of slammed her into the basement door, breaking it, by the way. And she fell off of him and he came back after me, and I had been on my feet at that point, and he pushed me into the tub and put his hands around my throat.
When you called 911, she wasn't breathing, right? That's why you called?
Yeah, that's how I felt, you know. I felt like she wasn't breathing. I couldn't say for sure, but I felt like that, and I didn't want to risk it, so I hurried up and I called 911.
Okay, and I can tell you she wasn't. Okay, she didn't have a pulse either.
I had very mixed emotions, but I knew for a fact that if I could help in any way, I wanted to do that, and that's why I told Detective O'Connell.
At this point, I just know that I'm looking at an individual who his upper body is shredded and had obviously been in a physical altercation with somebody, and the other half of this is now being kept alive by a breathing tube.
What could happen to Jamie? Well, she's not going to be fine.
She could die.
No, she can't. No, she can't. No, she can't. No, she can't.
In Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Falls Township Police are processing Evan Smith, their main suspect in a life-threatening assault on mother of 5 Jamie Begley in the New Falls motel just hours earlier. Given the severity of the incident, county detectives and the district attorney's office are now involved.
Once he was in custody, I directed the officers to secure search warrants for his person, to take photographs and DNA from him. Detective Coolin went to the hospital to view the victim and see if there's any evidence that could be collected from her. There was still some skin and blood that was under her fingernails that we were able to take. I also asked him to take pictures of her face because we believed it was a strangulation at the time.
We did see petechiae around the eyes and around the cheekbone area and above the eye. The pressure, the lack of oxygen, and the pressure of somebody just gasping for air can cause the blood vessels to rupture, and it shows small red dots or capsules in the eyes and around the eyes for a period of days or hours.
So I had them doing that, and then of course Evan Smith was interviewed.
I was a part of the detective group that went to the hospital, okay, to be with Jamie and to try to figure out what's going on up there, okay?
She had nothing for you, did she?
I'll be honest with you, she's not speaking. And it's not because she's choosing not to, she can't speak.
No, it's not true. Why wouldn't she speak? It's not true.
Evan, I'm trying to figure out how this happened so I can relate to the doctors.
It's not true. Why would she not be able to speak? Does anybody here tell you how much I love that girl? You go ask 3 different neighborhoods, from Falls to Bristol to Levittown. Go ask anyone who ever met us. Go ask anyone who deals with us. I love her. There's nothing here. There's nothing here.
You know, you figure that. Well, I want you to figure this out. Why do you think she couldn't speak?
Is she awake or not? Is she awake? Why would she be able to speak? It doesn't make sense.
On the night of the assault, police had locked down the scene and conducted a comprehensive forensic search.
There was an indicia of ownership, meaning there was identity cards and personal belongings that were in the name of Evan and Jamie. There were 3 cell phones that were recovered, and there was also bedding material that was recovered because it had blood stains or suspected blood stains on them. Once the cell phones were obtained, I transported them up to our office in Doylestown, where one of our detectives specializes in cell phone analysis and the forensic download of those devices. Those cell phones were a crucial part of this investigation to really dive into the history of Evan and Jamie. We recovered video files, text message files, images. Those text messages illustrated a relationship that had highs and lows. The highs were when Evan had, he displayed sobriety for small periods of time, and they were in love. And the lows were when Evan was acting out and in having bouts of rage and threatening Jamie with her life, threatening to harm the family, and going through various struggles with drug abuse.
Not normal threats, you know, like I'm gonna rip your teeth out, stuff like that. I'm gonna kill you. He communicated to her multiple times he was going to kill her.
Do you consider yourself to have a bit of an anger problem?
No, maybe sometimes. Anyone can. I don't know. I think it's the biggest. I think it's the biggest thing that ever happened in my life. Excuse me if I have emotions.
You seem extremely short-tempered to me.
Well, you seem.
It seems almost when you don't get your way, you immediately, burst into or have an outburst. And I could almost assume that if you're doing that with me and Detective Cohen here, I can see you would probably regularly do this with Jamie.
Then, police discover a shocking but potentially crucial piece of evidence from the phone downloads.
Jamie, what the f is a person supposed to do now? That's not what I want to do. It's not how I want. That's not how I feel. I'm upset.
It seemed to be that she was operating 2 cell phones. She was on a voice call with Evan on one phone and videotaping with the other phone. And this was a couple days just before the incident.
I mean,
the choice I have, either stay with you and worry about getting killed every other day.
No. Had we, no, Jamie, this is deep, okay?
Tell me about it, Evan. I'm the one that's being abused.
Ain't no worry about it. Shut the yo.
Ms. Bagley appears with some apparent forethought enough to at least video the call and get her on tape in this conversation / argument saying, like, I'm afraid you're gonna kill me.
And it's terrifying to hear. He really is an angry person.
I love Tommy, so why Tommy's outside my door?
Nobody was outside your door, Evan.
What's wrong with you? Stop saying that, all right?
The reason she made that recording in my mind was because she knew something bad was going to happen.
Talk to the girl and see what she says, okay? If that's the case.
I don't think you're understanding. We can't talk to her.
But
she cannot talk.
But she will, though.
She has a machine breathing for her. She is unconscious and is on life support. From what occurred in that room while you were in there with her.
Nah, you did the last time. You're trying to...
Evan, look at me.
What do you mean there's a machine? There's no machine needs to breathe for her. No machine needs to breathe for her.
Evan.
What are you talking about? It doesn't make sense.
An accident or premeditated attack. Police knew they had some way to go in discovering what had happened to Jamie that night at the motel. Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Police investigating the savage attack on mother of 5, Jamie Bagley, are hearing more about her relationship history with Evan Smith.
She met Evan through mutual friends. They lived together for a long time. Their relationship was probably close to 20 years. They seemed happy in the beginning.
But things have begun to change over time.
The things that I started to notice where it was not a healthy relationship is when I started to realize when he would go away, as I was told, it was because he was going back and forth to jail. He had a lot of drug charges, a lot of burglary charges.
Like, so my stepdad, I looked at him like my own dad. Like, I looked up to him a lot when I was a kid. So I got old enough to realize, like, what kind of person he was. So he would go to jail for a couple years, and then he would come back, like 6 months maybe at the most, and yeah, go right back for another couple years. That's how it was our whole life, so.
He wasn't a friend at all. He wasn't there. He was just my father.
It definitely made me upset when I was younger, for sure. But when I got older, I accepted it, and I realized that my mom is better than any 2 parents, and that we were in good hands.
The family appeared content and stable as long as Evan was locked up. Each time Evan was released from prison, his presence would cause problems for the family.
Just kind of a revolving door, if you will. Just kind of over and over again. But I guess the fact they've been together for so long and they had all these kids together, Jamie wanted to do whatever she could to try to help him still.
He had significant mental health issues, a significant drug problem, specifically methamphetamine, which it makes you very aggressive and amplifies your anger. Their relationship was tumultuous. He was a very violent person.
Him and my mom, like, even when I was a kid, they always argued, like, always. Even when I was a kid and, like, loved them like my own dad, like, they always would fight, like, crazy fights.
We all felt she deserved more. She was such a great person. She's such a hard worker. And then there was the other side of it where this guy was not working, not helping support her or the kids. She was doing it all on her own, and it just seemed like he constantly took advantage. But my sister loved him, and he always seemed to just wiggle his way back in and win her over again, always.
Police were no strangers to the trailer park where the couple lived.
This is Penn Park Trailer Park. For the most part, I would describe this as a blue-collar community of the township. A lower income, but still blue-collar, hardworking. They're good people. Within that community, you're always going to have your bad seeds. But then you look around some of these, like, they're meticulously maintained. You have others that just, they let them go. It's actually right here on the left. This blue one right here. That is where we had many, many calls with Jamie and Evan.
6 months prior to the assault at the motel, a serious incident at the trailer park led to Jamie kicking Evan out of a home.
My mom and my dad were fighting, and it sounded physical. So I went to the door and I tried to open it, and my dad blocked the door off with the bed, so I couldn't open the door. And eventually they opened the door. My mom had a big knot on her head, black eye, both black eyes, scratches on her face, and I'm 13 at the time. I wanted to intervene, but I knew my dad was on something. And if I tried to, do something, he would probably beat me up pretty bad.
The kids were technically at their breaking point. They didn't want to live with him. They didn't want to live in the same place as their father. It was very volatile at this point. So her way of fixing it was, let's put him up in a motel. That way she's not leaving him out on the streets, but then she's also keeping her kids separate.
But in April of 2021, police were called to the trailer park. Evan had returned.
He came after her, and she had to jump out the trailer window to avoid getting attacked by him, and then he ran off. As we're there, he sneaks in the back door of the trailer, and he lit a pizza box on fire in the trailer in an attempt to burn the trailer down.
I kind of pulled Jamie to the side, and I was talking with her, and I was saying, Jamie, what's going on with you? Why are you with him? He's gonna hurt you. He's gonna kill you one of these days. But she didn't want anything done. She said she wasn't harmed, and she said that the fire was caused by her careless cooking, which we didn't believe, but we couldn't do anything about it.
Despite all of this, Jamie continued to meet Evan at the motel.
I kind of hated her at that point. I felt like she was picking him over me and my brothers and stuff. And I even told her, if I go back through my text messages now, there's me telling her, you're gonna die if you stay here. If you stay with him, you're gonna die. And she was just brushing it off, no, I won't, no, I won't.
And that takes us right up to the night of July 1st.
Back at the police station, detectives were finally making progress in the interrogation of Evan Smith.
We were fighting and having raw sex at the same time. Okay? Pulling, pushing, and choking each other. And I choked her too much this time. And because it was like putting pressure and then stopping and then going again. And I think between stopping and going, there wasn't enough space in between.
We formulated the game plan that we would charge Evan with something. He did admit to the strangulation, which caused her to be unconscious, so he was initially charged with an aggravated assault.
That's what I did. That's what it is. There's no more extra. There's no intent. There's no purpose. I did not purposely hurt Jamie. I love her, okay? I don't care what you think. How about that? How about that? How about I just give it to you straight? I don't give a what either one of you think. I care about my girl. I don't care about what you're charged. I don't care what you do. How about that?
He was actually placed into the cell block at that point.
But it wasn't long before the tragic news came from the hospital.
The 4th of July, 2021, I got a call that Ms. Begley had passed.
I remember sitting there with my mom and my brother, and then I remember my older nephews, all of them walking in. And that was heartbreaking.
I thought she would die at 100 and I'd be 80-something years old and be able to handle it better. It's the worst feeling I could ever feel in my life.
I said my final goodbye, and they wheeled her out, and that was the last time I saw her. I knew he was a bad guy. I've always known that. But my little sister loved him so hard. I didn't think he could truly do that to her.
That's when we filed official charges of homicide.
July 4th, 2021, in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, police investigating an assault on 39-year-old Jamie Bagley at the New Falls Motel have upgraded the charge against the victim's partner, Evan Smith, to murder. Jamie's family now have to face Evan Smith in court.
The first time I walked into the courtroom and saw him sitting there, it was pure anger. Absolute anger. I didn't feel sad. He was sitting there as if nothing was bothering him. He didn't seem bothered by this at all. He didn't look sad. He wasn't crying. He was just sitting there.
In court, Deputy District Attorney Kay Kohler, she laid out the case. She laid out the troublesome relationship between these two and the history they had, including the violence. What Evan had put Jamie through was 18 years, and she used the word torture. She said it was a tumultuous relationship, and she laid out all the times things had gone wrong and Jamie had been hurt.
The autopsy evidence was central to the prosecution's case.
Dr. Ian Hood did the autopsy. He noted that her hyoid bone, which is in your neck, it's a very pliable bone, was broken. And that takes some significant force to do. It's not an easy thing to break, according to Dr. Hood. He also noticed deep tissue bruising. Her neck was bruised all the way down throughout all of her soft tissue on her neck, which was significant. Dr. Hood opined that she was struggling for her life and fighting for her life for the first 2 minutes that he was strangling her. After 2 minutes of substantial force, she would have been unconscious. And then it took, he said, a minimum of 2 more minutes of constant, intense pressure to kill her, to put her in the state that she was. It could have been up to an additional 10 minutes, he said.
Another crucial piece of evidence came from one of Evan Smith's fellow prisoners.
One of the other inmates actually came forward and gave an account that Evan Smith had told him about what happened that night. He said that he found dating websites on her phone, and he confronted her about being unfaithful. He was angry at her. They had a fight the night before the murder in the motel, and he told her, if you come back here, I'm gonna kill you. And then he tells the inmate, and then she came back, and she brought me food, and I said, I told you what would happen when you came back. And he said, then I strangled the life out of her. And then I called 911 and made a story up that that we were having rough sex, and then I fled the police and led him on a chase. So he admitted to all of this.
At the conclusion of the trial, Jamie's family were in court for the verdict.
So finally the day came. He was found guilty of third-degree murder. Unfortunately, he didn't get first-degree murder, but I felt okay with it. He was at least found guilty.
So at sentencing, the judge handed down that Evan spend the next 23.5 to 47 years in a Pennsylvania state correctional institution.
But there was to be one final twist to the tragic story.
2 years later, 4th of July, we all celebrate in our own way on that day for her. A very good friend of Jamie's contacted me and confirmed that he killed himself in prison on the date of her death. It was completely selfish. He couldn't spend the rest of his life in jail, and he knew that. He took the easy way out. Absolutely did.
That's the decision he made. I don't know how I feel too much about it. It doesn't hurt me, and it doesn't make me happy. It's just, it is what it is, as long as he's out of my life forever.
According to the prosecution, Evan Smith subjected Jamie to nearly 2 decades of torture. And while the end, there is justice for Jamie Bagley, the scars of what happened to her are almost impossible for a family to erase.
Her life could have been a lot different if Evan wasn't in it.
She's somebody who should still be here with us today.
It's a shame. It really is a shame for those kids. I feel bad for them every day because they lost their mom in a brutal way, and, their dad did it.
I love my mom, really. That was it, my best friend. Anything, she would do anything for me.
Every day that I look at my kids and I know they're not gonna know her, kills me. I see her kids growing up and doing great things. And she can't see that. And it hurts so bad still.